Trey Wingo, how are you, Trey?
Good, Rich. How are you, buddy?
How you feeling?
I'm okay.
Are you like LeBron? Are you burnt? Are you burnt like LeBron?
I'm a little burnt, but
Yep.
I'm ready to roll. It is funny though, that just hearing the conversation as a whole.
Yes.
It's amazing how many people parse everything that everyone says these days. In listening to that answer, like I'm with you. Someone asked him a question. He's like, "Can I just deal with this today and then worry about that Tuesday?" It is amazing how everyone dives into every single syllable sometimes with this kid, and they hear what they want to hear instead of what's actually being said.
And I think, Trey, part of LeBron's greatness, part of the metric in coming up with that is that everything he has said has been parsed since the minute he played high school basketball. He has been part and parcel of the 24/7, 365 sports cable, split screen, topic bar, hashtag argument culture, as well as sports talk radio, Twitter, Instagram. He is, I mean, he's been, every movement and every syllable he said has been parsed forever.
Yeah, and he's still been able to do what he's been able to do. I mean, look, to me, it's like, Rich, it's like confirmation bias, okay, about a draftee. If you feel a certain way about a player, then you'll find something that you don't like or like about him to validate your opinion. And if people are like criticizing LeBron for playing 43 minutes, scoring 45 points for the second time in a Game 7, which has never been done before, in a series in which he won basically by himself, when for the first time ever he won a playoff series where no other teammate in any of the other 7 games had at least 20 points one time, and he led them in assists, rebounds, and points in an entire playoff series for the 20th time in a playoff series. And you have problems with him. I think you need a hug. I think you need a hug.
Trey Wingo here on the Rich Eisen show. At what point do you get a little loopy on the draft set, Trey? At what point?
Well, I think you and I both the same way. Somewhere in the middle of day 3, you start forgetting where you are and what time it is, and then you snap into it and just say, focus.
Yeah.
It's always the middle of day 3 for me.
Yeah, it is like around round 6. I was just explaining I don't know if it was before you were called or on hold. Bill Smith, the researcher who's in my ear the entire time of our crack research staff, he gets in there. He goes, "I got a trade I want to tell you about," and I'm like, "Okay, if it's not for Tom Brady, I don't want to hear a word out of your mouth." That's it. That's it.
Yeah, it is. There's a certain point. Now you guys were outside on Saturday, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were outside too, and then halfway through the day, the sun turned, and it went from being a very nice, comfortable day to being in a blast furnace, which is fine, which, by the way, was much better than 2 years ago in Chicago when it was 39 degrees and sideways raining and we were outside. But at some point, I mean, the dry cleaning bill for the suits is going to be very high this year.
Do you argue with Mel in the same way that Mike and I sometimes, we get our nerves frayed a little bit? You and Mel go at it?
Oh, look. There's no way around that, and that for me and for us mostly, it's Mel and Todd that sometimes get going.
Right.
But I'll jump in the fray sometimes. But yeah, look, and people are like, "Oh wow, you guys really like each other." I'm like, no, it's like anything else. If you're with someone for 24 hours a day, eventually they're going to do something, and you're going to do something that is going to rub you the wrong way, and that's just the way it is.
Oh yeah, my Twitter timeline blows up because I stay off of Twitter rounds 1 and 2 and 3. Right around round 3 is when I start taking a little peek at mentions. And I have no problem looking at mentions. I once mentioned this to Joe Buck. He's like, how the hell are you watching anything, on your mentions live? And Dan Patrick said the same thing to me once, and he's not even on Twitter, that he wouldn't do it. Yeah. But I don't mind doing it. And I see every now and then when Mayock and I start arguing with each other, they think we hate each other. And I'm like, no, he's just from Philadelphia. That's what I say. He's from Philly. I'm from New York. This is the way we talk. This is the way people talk.
Look, you do anything long enough with another person, you're going to have friction. That doesn't mean you don't like the other person. That just means eventually humans disagree. So, no issues there.
What was your favorite moment of the draft, Trey?
Well, it's hard to go away from the Shaquem Griffin story. I mean, that was really something. Look, the first 10 minutes were just crazy. The whole thing. I mean, we never had 4 quarterbacks go in the top 10, 5 quarterbacks in the first round for only the 3rd time ever. I mean, the whole Thursday night thing was electric. And one of my personal favorites for me was when Connor Williams was drafted by the Cowboys in the 2nd round. And he grew up 20 minutes outside of there. And, his story was well chronicled in that great essay he wrote for you guys on NFL.com. And, that was a victory for anyone that's been, picked on, persecuted, alienated, left alone, abused, and, felt inferior in their life as a kid. And a lot of us have been there. To see him have that moment was really pretty cool.
Yeah, a stutterer, and it's difficult to comprehend that somebody of his size, when he was that big, he was a big kid, a stutterer, and he was picked on and he was bullied, and then he goes to Texas and he's drafted by the Cowboys, and he was crying, and it really was an incredible moment that he gets to stay home in Dallas for the Cowboys, and it's a journey. That's what I said at the top with Shaquem, that a journey completed, and obviously there's still much more to go, but hard work, hard determination, stick-to-itiveness, it pays off, and a dream realized on live television. It is pretty neat. It really is incredible.
That's what makes the draft so much fun, Rich. I mean, that's the whole thing. To me, it's telling these kids stories. I mean, I think people look at them as draftees and they think of them as products, like, hey, I'm going to go get this thing at the Apple store. It's going to make my computer run faster. They seem to think of them in that way. They're not widgets. They're human beings. And they all have these things that have gotten to where they are. By the way, side note, I'm sure you noticed this as well. The first round was flying. I mean, the picks were coming in fast and furious.
Yes.
And then we got to the Cowboys pick at 19, and lo and behold, if the brakes didn't just get pumped, and suddenly they were there soaking up that moment for a few more minutes.
Yeah, I know. There's
any other team in the first round.
Hey, some teams I think are just, the Giants threw in their pick for Will Hernandez within 30 seconds at the top of the second round. There's another teams will just milk the clock because they know that maybe the War Room cam, our Honda War Room cam was showing some teams. Jerry Jones, I think he knows exactly where the camera is. But another thing, too, that's great about the draft, Trey, is that Connor Williams moment happened after the Eagles traded up right in front of them to take the tight end that everybody thought the Cowboys were interested in, named Dallas. And David Akers gets up and returns fire for Philly in Dallas to try and match the Drew Pearson moment in Philadelphia the year before. I mean, that was intense in the draft hall, too.
That was a couple of things there. That was a savage move by Howie Roseman, the GM of the Eagles, just to jump the Cowboys to do it. And on the David Akers thing, it was great. But let's be honest. What's the old line? Don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Oh, don't bash a kicker, Trey. Do not bash kickers. Do not bash.
It's not bashing a kicker. It's the way David sounded. Okay,
come on.
He sounded like he was getting into his first R-rated movie. I mean. You Philadelphia! None of these players were born before the Cowboys won that last Super Bowl.
Be careful. You work for Disney, Trey, and that mouse sounded just like him. Come on now.
I'm aware. It just. I was sitting with Golick today. He goes, I was a former Eagle, and I was like, all right, that's enough. It's just bring Mike Quick. Bring somebody like that. Don't bring David Akers.
I thought, well, I heard that they were going to bring out. They were going to bring out Jason Kelce in full Mummers Parade gear.
That would have been awesome.
On Thursday night, but that somehow got scuttled overnight on Thursday night. I don't know what happened. Maybe Howie Roseman's like, I'll save you airfare. We're not picking round one, and they traded out for Lamar Jackson. What do you know about Trey? What do you know? What are you hearing about Jason Witten within your building? I mean, Mort's all over this story, but what are you hearing about it?
I'm hearing what Witten's hearing. I mean, I'm hearing what Mort's hearing, basically, or I'm hearing from Mort is all I can tell you. Funny story, though. I will tell you this. Rich, as you well know as well, like anyone else that does this, you have to time certain things just right, including bathroom breaks. And at one point, I was running to get one last bathroom break in before the start of the draft. And we have our green room back there where you and I took our picture. We always do that every year.
Yes.
Before the start of the draft. And I go in to use the bathroom in our green room, and there's a guard outside the door that says, "Hey, you can't go in there." I'm like, what do you mean I can't go in there? Show him my badge, and I open up, and lo and behold, Jason Witten's in there having a few conversations. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Good to see you guys. Moving on. And that's all I know. That's all I know at this point.
With Brass or Jerry Jones, or was he going number one himself,
With people.
Trey? Oh, okay.
With people.
The green room. I see. Okay.
Gotcha.
Very good. All right.
Yeah.
So, Trey, fun stuff. I really appreciate you calling in. You take care of yourself, okay? We'll chat.
Rich, always good to see you, and always fun to have a good time with you on draft weekend, and we'll talk soon, okay,
You
buddy?
got it. You got it. That's Trey Wingo, co-host of Golick and Wingo.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.